Hey, I'm Tommy. This is the Lifeboat. What's happening? Glad you're here. AJ Speaks, looking good and green. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Tampa B, look at here. Kristen Melinda, glad you're here. Sandy, Wendy, how are you? Let's see, people. Lori Driscoll, how are you? This is Tommy. This is Tommy. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with me. For the next little bit, anyway. Lumen, good to see you. Body Illusion, how are you? Jason P. Jamie Palmer. Just in time. You're darn right. Lumen, I live for now. Inappropriate Hef. Glad you're here, Hef. Third eye open. Tommy, you need to get Reese a diamond encrusted ring watch. Well, there you go. From the don't tell her that. I'm a big fan of diamond encrusted anything. Truthfully, I've always liked diamonds. Elizabeth Grundy, glad you're here. Tina Serlin, glad you're here. Long time no see, right? It seems like it's been weeks. Weeks. Well, it's been at least an hour. Blessed to Crochet, what's happening? Shelly Kelly, glad you're here. Glad you are here. Lynn Sanity, and my friend Lisa Chimble is here. Karen Pooley. Oh, it's an honor. It's an honor. It's an honor. That's what it is. I'm not even joking. Happy to be here. Can't think of a better name. I'm glad you are here. People, tonight we're gonna rev it right up. But before we get started, let's go over this one more time, shall we? This is not a sobriety channel. I swear to God, I must have done this show 100 times, but this is not a sobriety channel. It never really has been. You know, we don't line up with enough of their rules for anybody to ever accept us into that genre. They're not very damn fond of us. So Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida, good to see you, my man. So really what we are is far more of like a family kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's and it's a peer support. Very purely peer support, and that's peer support for anything, right? Doesn't matter what's causing the hurt. Seems like the solution is always the same, right? Which is spend a little bit of time with people who are nice to one another. It's amazing what kind of stuff can happen. Lori Hart, tornadoes moving in from the west of the state. Prayers for everyone. Yeah, you know what? I'm up for that. That's scary. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you know what? We got a good dose of reality on that here shortly. Just a couple of days ago, and I was afraid when I heard the news about the golfer Grayson Murray, the fact that he had passed. Audit Golden Era, good to see you. I really was worried that we were going to hear that he unalived himself, and that apparently is what happened. He was a PGA Tour player. Just 30 years old, had a lot of life in front of him, that had been fairly successful this last year, but had struggled openly with alcohol, and he had struggled openly with mental illness, and had been fairly vocal about it. And I think people thought that he may have been out of trouble. It really brings up a great point, you know. Very often when we've got friends who suffer from mental illness, if they start to when they start to look better, right? A lot of times you kind of just want to run in the opposite direction. And I'm not picking on anybody, but honestly, it's a very difficult thing, isn't it? Right? When the people that we care about are really struggling mentally, a lot of times people just sort of leave them alone. And you know, they don't know what to say, can't think of anything smart to say, this kind of thing. But because of that, very often, hello, Lisa Black. Hey, Doc. Very often, these people get left alone to suffer in silence. Diary of a Ghost. Good to see you. And I think, sadly, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, right? But man, oh man, if today, if you're feeling really, really depressed and out there, right? Don't please reach out and ask some people for some help, right? Diary of a Ghost, good to see you. Hey, Miss Sunrise Dawn. 14 years ago today, my cousin was in a car accident. He passed 2 weeks later. Never woke up again after the accident. I miss him. Miss Sunrise Dawn, I'm glad that we are here for you tonight. I remember you spoke about this a few days ago. Taekwondo for life. Someone was asking me recently about this ring. I didn't see you in the audience that day, but I was bragging about this ring. Shauna B, love this ring, by the way. Shauna B, good to see you. But my heart really goes out to this family. He had an absolutely beautiful fiance and a very loving family, and it's just it's heart wrenching because you look at somebody and you think, you know what, he's killing it, he's doing fantastic. He had dropped off of the PGA Tour. If you understand how that tour works, you got to earn your way onto it. Not anybody can just go and play. It's very structured, and you get this little gold thing you wear on your belt. Right? It says you are a member of the PGA Tour. If you're not, if you don't score enough victories, or just at least a good enough finish in enough tournaments, then you get sort of kicked down to the minors. And there are several pro leagues, but they're not the same level pro. And he went down there, won a few tournaments, came back, and he had won 3 tournaments on the PGA this year. And he had said a lot of, in interviews, he had talked about how great life was. Jazzy Girl, good to see you. He talked about how he felt like quitting, like cashing in his chips a while back, but that he was doing considerably better. And I just wonder, so often people suffer in silence, and we look at them and we go, oh, they look a lot better. They look a lot better. Mental illness doesn't really present itself like that. I talk to people every day, but I've never been able to look at somebody and go, oh yes, you're okay. Mental illness. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Let's work on that. It doesn't work like that at all, man. It's they look just like you and me because they're just you and me. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, good to see you. Lynn Sanity says, reaching out for help is hard. I've asked for my family to help and I'm not getting it. It is tanking my already shaky mental health. Yeah, it really is hard when the people that you reach out to for support don't seem to help. This is the part where we usually say, if you didn't get the family that you were looking for, by all means, feel free to build another one, especially if you're trying to get up off the deck in any way, whether that be drugs, alcohol, or you're just not having a good day, right? Having a support group around you is really a big deal. Hey, Lisa, glad you're here. Inappropriate Heifer says, my middle name is mental illness. It's a family name. Passed down, was it? Okay. I get it. I really do. I don't know anybody that's not suffering from some mental illness. I don't. I honestly don't. I'm sure I must. There must be somebody in my life that's not, but I sure as hell can't think of one off the top of my head. Ellie, how are you? Chrissy, never in Newton. Hello, everyone. I have an update from my friend. Oops, that was in a coma. She is talking a bit. Brain still healing, but they're flying her closer to home. Miracles happen, but a long road ahead. You know what? Right now, my best friend is learning to talk again. Buddhist Beer, good to see you. Right now, my best friend's learning to speak again. It can be done. It absolutely can be done. It's a tough road to hoe. I'm gonna lie to you. That's a rugged thing to have to do at any age. Learning to talk again isn't easy, but you know something? There are people out there that are built in such a way that they're going to knock this out. Narcoleptic Chihuahua, good to see you. Tommy, happy. Absolutely. There is the family you are born into, and there's the family that God brings you into. I agree with you, my man. I really do. Whenever people go, well, you can't pick your family, I go, the hell you can't. Why can't you? Of course you can pick your family. I have. Passenger Shaming says, it breaks my heart. He felt it was the only way. I'm a female medic at a level 1 trauma center. It really got me every time we had someone come in who ended up being successful. It's so sad and tragic. You know what, Passenger Shaming? I don't know if I've ever said hello to you, but I'm glad you're here. I was telling my friend a story today about my life flight. I took a helicopter ride after getting stabbed in the stomach. They brought me to the back in prison, and they've got a little medical facility in every jail, and this one happened to be a pretty good one, actually. As far as they go, it was pretty well stocked compared to a lot of the other ones, and there were doctors usually on staff. But I went back there and just sat on one of those little table things that you pull the baker's the white paper over the top of. Well, I was yeah, I was sitting on one of those numbers for about what had to be 20 or 30 minutes. Honestly, I was back there a really long time, just holding something over the wound in my stomach. And then when the doctor came in, he's like, "Oh no, we got to life flight him out of there." If they had just put me in a van, they could have driven me a lot farther than the hospital in that same period of time. But as I was getting onto the helicopters, really lovely blonde medic. Uh, I was kind of being a wise guy, and I don't know, flirting. You don't if you're if you're in prison, you don't have a shot very often to talk to women, and she was lovely. So I said, "What do you think? Am I going to make it?" And he said, "No, you're going to die." She was serious as hell too, and kind of took me by surprise. "Hey, Fitzgerald family," I said, "I'm sorry, what?" Um, the doc said this wasn't, that I'm not in any, life-threatening danger. I had nothing to worry about like that. And she said, "Oh, not from that," pointing to my stomach and started pointing to all the track marks and stuff on my arms. She said, "This is what's going to get it." She said, "And it's frustrating because I'm wasting my time saving you." She said, "For real, I'm wasting my time saving you. I'm going to save you. And then you're going to run back to your cell and start jabbing yourself in the arm with needles." Uh, she wasn't, uh, she wasn't at all nice. We're going to be honest. She wasn't very nice to me, but boy, she left an impression. She absolutely left an impression. And hey, Space Diesel, good to see you. I'll tell you something. It worked out because it floored me so much that I have not done any dope since. How's that? Um, so I don't know if it was the first time she's done that, but just in case she ever comes across this channel, good looking out. And she was lovely, by the way. Like, squeeze me, ma'am. Yeah, that's rough. No, it's definitely rough. I'm guessing your bedside manner is probably better. Um, however, I think you pick up a lot of people from prison. You probably run into a lot of stuff, and you just keep seeing it over and over again. And I know that in many cases, what she described is exactly what happens. I know a guy that they took out on 3 different occasions to bring back from the dead for all intents and purposes. And they saved this cat's life 3 times, and he was dead a week later. And that's got to be frustrating as hell. I get that. I really do. Shannon C says, question, Tommy, what are your thoughts on 2 people dating that both have a past of drug or alcohol addiction? Some people I know have sober for years and date people who have only been for a couple of weeks. Oh, well, I got an idea here, right? Here's a really good idea. I don't think anybody that's been sober for a couple of weeks ought to be dating anybody, right? Honestly, that's really, really a bad idea, in my humble opinion. Now, you do whatever you want. I'm certainly not a dictator around this camp, right? But I'll be really honest. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it takes a long time to get your legs underneath you. I've been 9 years since I did heroin. In June, it'll be 9 years, and I don't know if I've been I don't know if I've been sober long enough to date. You know what I mean? I I spent my whole life messed up, all of it. Right there, it is. I spent my whole life messed up on dope, all of it. So the last 9 years, for all it's worth, I'm 9. Right, that's about the time everything started coming online in terms of acting like an adult. Yeah, I'm not a asshole, not too often. Also, I'm a former paramedic. Thank God. Talk about PTSD. Yeah, that's a very, very, that's a really it's a challenging occupation. It is really, really a fairly serious occupation. Yes, dose of rose. I got the pinky swear thing locked in. Fear not. But yeah, it's been a really long time. I'm of the belief that you really need to get your life in order before you start sharing it with somebody else, right? But that said, right today I'm calling this stay in your own lane, and I do this show a lot because these kind of questions right here, these are great questions to talk about philosophically, right? Um, Passenger shaming said, yeah, 1 year I would recommend 1 year, and a lot of people say that. I've heard people say two. The thing is, even though I love to give my opinion on virtually everything, right? Love it. Uh, Even though I like to give my opinion on everything, it doesn't mean that I have the answers more than anybody else. Honestly, on a lot of these things, and I stay in my own lane. I get this email from people all the time. Hey, I'm thinking of dating this person. Hey, man, I'm not. I'm sorry, but I'm not your guy. Tell me you don't just practice empathy. I truly believe you walk the path of Christ. Oh, wow, more than anyone I know. I'm an atheist, by the way. It's funny as hell. No, are you kidding? An atheist can write that here anytime. You're not trying. This is my rule on religion, people. If you're not trying to convert somebody, I'm not offended by religion at all. I just don't want people here trying to convert somebody away from whatever their religion is, or telling somebody that your God's better than theirs, those kind of things. But I love that. I really do. I appreciate that. That's one of the kindest things anyone said. I dig that. Um, Hold on one sec. All right, just checking. Yeah, something Passenger Shaming says, I'm also not an addict. I only have one addiction, studies. Okay. You know what? I can get addicted to that really, really easily. Funny you say that, but no joke. All right, Fitzgerald family, have a good night's sleep. Thank you so much for stopping and sharing some time with us. And yeah, tomorrow will be better. I believe that. Uh, yeah, the I really dig the fact that we have a lot more people showing up here that don't have drug problems. I have come to believe that there are no such thing as normies, right? Hey, Christy, good to see you. I'm glad to see you too. I have missed you, Christy. I'm glad to see you. Ladybug, good to see you. But this is real, right? Um, Very often we want to kind of impose our truth and our opinion and our sobriety and our, hey, this worked for me, man, you better do it my way, right? Because this is the way it worked, or this has worked for a lot of people, so you need to do it this way. Hey, man, find your way, right? I'm not going to bust anyone's chops for how they do it. Wharton Thistle, good to see you, but I will recommend to everybody that you stay in your own friggin' lane. For real. You know what sucks worse than anything in the world? Those people who get sober and within 45 minutes want to tell you what a jerk you are for continuing to use. Nothing on earth is more disgusting than those people. Honest to God. And it does not bring people into sobriety, I promise you. It's not how you talk somebody into leaving the life. Right? Feel me? You know how you talk someone into leaving the life? You show them how happy you are. I'm not kidding. Show them how much better life is, and people will ask you why you're so damn happy, right? Especially the people. I mean, if I knew anybody that was still in the life, um, to look at me now compared to who I was, I don't imagine that they would be able to recognize me. I'm really serious. Tammy, I hear this one probably more than anything. Tammy says, I am not an addict, but I am the mother of a son who is. I hear this more than anything. I really do. I hear this more than anything. Passenger Shaming says drugs scare the shit out of me, but I respect the hell out of people doing their thing. Yeah, I try not to. This is another thing. I will. Ex-smokers are the worst. You're right. Like they literally are putting the last one out. I can't believe you smoke, you scumbag. They're still blowing the smoke out. Miss me with that crap, right? Miss me with that crap. And honestly, it drives people away from communities like this, right? You show up in a community like this and you say, hey, I'm doing a lot better. Been doing 4 or 5 grams of blow a day for the last 7 or 8 months, and I've managed to stop. I'm smoking a lot of pot, but I've managed. And there will be people that'll jump that person's stuff to tell them you're not sober. That's weed. You ain't sober, man. You get high on weed. Why are you even here? You shouldn't be here. Are you kidding me, man? Stay in your own friggin' lane. What do you care? He's trading one drug for another. Yes, he is. Yeah, good trade though. All BS aside, if you're trading weed for blow, my hat's off to you. That's a damn good trade. If you're trading weed for fentanyl, that's the greatest trade since Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi, right? There's no better trade on earth because that stuff will kill you. As almost everybody knows. Yeah, you know what? It's funny that you say this kind of, because I get claustrophobic. I use that term to describe things that happen to me a lot that have nothing to do with small spaces. I understand that feeling. I know what you're saying, and I get that. When I describe feeling uncomfortable in my own skin, claustrophobic is almost another way to look at it. I start feeling like the entire world is getting real small, and I'm stuck in it, and absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated that, and found that smack turned that off like a light switch. For real. Morphine molecule turned that off like a light switch. And all it wanted in return was everything. Right? My health, my faith, my family, the next family, the next family. That's it's kind of how that rolls. Feel me? So, as most people here know, and if you don't, shame on you, you're not watching me enough. But most people here know that there's a book being written currently about. You guys finally said for a long enough period of time, man, you need to write a book, and well, it's being done. You know what, Horton? But you threw the door open to gulp air, and that is what you're supposed to do. Sorry, I'm out of here. I don't even, people, I swear to you, the number of times I've done it in my life, in the middle of a conversation with somebody talking to me, I'd go, oh, stop. I got to go. Nothing personal at all. I'm a recovering addict, and I'm starting to get a really bad feeling, and I'm not going to stay in this room anymore, but it's got nothing to do with you. I look forward to seeing you the next time I'm around. Bye-bye. And I have no shame whatsoever in my game doing that. Gotta go. Gotta go. Sorry. No matter what your issue may be, getting honest with yourself and then others is key to getting better. Damn straight. This is why journaling is so important. You can lie to yourself up here. When you go to write it down, it screams back at you. Bullshit stuff. My sister has social anxiety disorder. She became addicted to Vicodin, kicked it on her own. Brother, still a drunk and addict to anything that can be done. Yeah, I was your brother. I really was. I was your brother, and I say that because heroin was heroin was heroin was medication, right? I had to do that every single day in order to live. It had nothing to do with getting high. It had nothing to do with any of that. In order to not feel like the whole world was closing in on me, and to be able to feel even remotely comfortable in my own skin, I needed to do a buttload of heroin every day. But on top of that, anything that happened to be floating by, I was on it, right? Mushrooms, LSD. I mean, honestly, just about anything. Tried to avoid PCP, but I did end up trying that by accident. But I was a dump truck. If there was something that you could dump some drugs into, I was that guy. Hey man, we just got this. We don't know what it does. Bring it over here. I'll try it. I mean, that's who I was. Now you look at a pill and you take a picture of it, and you type stuff in. We ate stuff for real. We were pretty stupid for a long time. He doesn't want to face demons and consequences. Well, you definitely know. You definitely know where he's at, because that's it, right? That's why it is so difficult. Right? Getting sober means just that. Jazzy Girl says journaling is really life-changing for me too. I really need it every day to keep balance. I'll tell you something. Without it, I am wrecked. I'm not playing. I'm wrecked. And it happened so fast, you cannot imagine. For me, this is bedrock stuff. I cannot live without it, as crazy as it is. I was trapped under a motorbike since the 20 years. If I get stuck in bed, sheets, yeah. Doc, I get that. Honestly. Hey, if you guys have ever gone over to my, if you've never seen my Instagram page, way back when I was working at the shipyard, I used to talk to my phone, and I'm not kidding you. I talked to my phone to stay sane because I was so damn claustrophobic that I was terrified crawling through those tunnels, right? Jet black. So I kept the phone on and talked to it. And I was showing somebody one of those videos the other day, and I can't even watch it. Like honestly, just watching it makes me claustrophobic. And I crawled through those crap. It on one boat. It took uh, 28 minutes of crawling through this thing from the time I went down the hole till I got to the end, where I had to then start doing my stuff and come back. 28 minutes of crawling. F that. I can't begin to tell you how bad that. Fight, flight, or freeze makes a lot more sense, actually. This is the new one. This is the new thing because fight or flight. And honestly, there's a bunch of people that do not fight or flight, they freeze. So it's a very, very real thing. Yeah, hell no is right. You saw those clips, Krista Malie. Yeah, they're so bad, man. They really are so bad. The things I'm crawling through aren't big enough for me to go through. That's the bottom line. They're not big enough for a guy that's 200 pounds and 6'2" to be crawling through. And that was my gig. It feels kind of weird. I like getting feedback from conversations, so writing it out might feel weird for a bit. Yeah, Jamie Palmer, but I'm not joking that my journal speaks back to me. I'll be in the middle of writing something, and it's that voice that goes, "Yeah, you're BSing yourself." And instead of just going, I write that straight down, right? Put it in parentheses if you want, but quit BSing. Yeah, Jazzy Girl, it was scary stuff. It really was. And look, there were times I had to crawl in there with a sand blaster and blast all the paint off the inside of one of those. And if you think being in something that small as hell, you got to get in there with the sand firing at 160 miles an hour coming out of a tube. You and another guy, big helmets and mat. It's the scariest crap on earth, man. Yeah, I've never been happier than when I walked away from that job. It was really, and there was no way I was going to quit. It was one of those things, man. I'd quit everything my whole life. That had been, and that was my rule, right? If I did it before, I wasn't doing it now. Well, I sure as crap would have quit before, right? So I was going to keep working. I was pretty damn happy to leave that gig, though. I'll tell you what. And if you were paying attention way back then, there's some of you really have been with me that long. I mean, there were people that helped me out. One day, the guy I worked for who was just a dick. My hands were this big, right? And he goes, "Hey, you're on Sandblaster tonight." And I was like, "You gotta be kidding me, man." And I was like, "Yeah, all right. I'll go." And you could request a gig, right? You could ask the boss. You only got it if you had a favor or whatever. But if you had one, you could get at it doing something crappy. I never got one of those because I wasn't a good worker. But a dude there was like, "Hey, man, I want to do the sandblast," and he can do what I was doing. And he was painting. It's really high off the ground, but I don't give a crap about heights, right? That doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm totally cool with that. So, no one would trade going up on this where you get to just sit up there and look out at the Golden Gate Bridge. It's actually the greatest job on the shipyard. No one would want to trade that for sandblasting. And the dude just looked at him. He goes, "You being funny?" And he goes, "No, man, I want to do the sandblasting." And I mean, it just blew my mind. And I went up to thank the dude. I was like, "Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks." He's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm on the bus, bro." One of my guy from my brother's channel. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a bus rider. I'm on Chase the Heat." I was like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, "How long did you know who I was?" He's like, "The whole time you've been here." He's like, "But you can go up there, man." He's like, I'll go do that crap." So I mean, there was a few good people along the way that kind of hooked me up. So with this book being written, um, picture like a director in a movie. You get the dailies. Like at the end of the day, you can kind of look and see what's been done. Right? You can look to see and make notes on it, or if something has to be changed or whatever. Well, the author is doing the same thing, and the author kicks me some stuff, and I've had an opportunity to be reading stuff that I lived. Right? These are stories that they're my stories. I lived through these. This is just my stories being retold, and it's a trip. I got to do a lot of journaling because it's just so it's just so I don't know. I don't like reliving it. I really don't. I can't stand reliving it, but it's I think it's cathartic, but it's taken a lot out of me. The night before being suffocated, I was looking up phobias. Man, I must really be subjective. Uh, you know what? I think I would be afraid to look up phobias, man. But I do know the one I got, right? The people who wonder about, do I have this or, I really just don't know, man. I got claustrophobia. I got claustrophobia. Claustrophobia, you know, I definitely have that. And I lied straight to my boss's face when he was hiring me. You afraid of heights? No, sir. Jumped out of planes before. No big deal. How about really small places? I went, no biggie. You know, great life lesson, kids, boys and girls. Do not lie. It's always going to come and slap you in the teeth before the end of the gig, anyway. But I got away with probably a month and a half of doing so many good gigs and having fun, right? Doing cool stuff. Before all of a sudden one day he takes us over and I'm the hole you got to go through is this big. And he goes, you see that? I go, what the hell is that? And he goes, that's the hole you got to get through. I go, I don't think I could fit through that, boss. If there's any chance in hell my body could fit through that. He goes, oh, no, no, we got bigger guys who can get through that hole. He's like, you can get through that. Holy mackerel. And as I jump down to the thing, my head is right here, right? So my head's still on the outside. But when I look down at that labyrinth, it's like the thing that the rat goes through, but it's supposed to hold water, right? Those are water chambers in the boat. But, oh, it's, and then the guy comes back, my boss comes back and goes, so and so, right? He's going to be sitting up here in he's your basically he's my partner. Of course, he doesn't go down, right? He stays on the outside, but he calls him my partner. So you check your headlamp, you make sure you got extra batteries, and he goes, hold on, I forgot the string. And I'm like, well, why do we need a string? He's like, so you can find your way back. Uh, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, what? So that I can find my way back? Hell no. And I did that sober, by the way, but nobody ever vaped more than I did. I'm telling you, man, that was the only thing I was doing at the time. And if you had looked down there, you wouldn't have been able to see me because of all of the vaping. Oh, Janet G, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit reading the first part of this. I went caving with some friends and cried like a baby when we had to crawl through some really tight rock places. The thought of millions of tons of rocks on top of me was too much. Yeah. Holy cow, man. That's to me anything else, right? Anything else. I don't care what it is. I'll take anything else. Um, I can't, nope, 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 nope. Yeah. Um, Now I will tell you this. I do not have arachnophobia. Now, I freaking hate spiders more than just about anybody on planet Earth. But if it comes right down to it, I can kill a spider if I have to, right? And my definition of I have to is if I've seen it, I can't let that thing, right? There's no way I'm going to sleep knowing that there's a spider that could crawl, up on me or whatever. That thing's got to die. I'm sorry. And I know people are going to bum out about that, but if you're that ugly, I'm sorry, you got to die. You scare me. You can't be that small and scare me that badly and still live. Sorry. But so I wouldn't say I have arachnophobia because I can go up there and smack one with my hand. And I don't think people who have arachnophobia could do that. But yeah, I don't like them. I really don't. I don't mind a step ladder either, but with my dad being old, he usually tells me to fix things while keeping the ladder steady. Yeah. Um, Heights in general, I honestly don't have any problem with heights. I've always had a fairly easy time. Drop me on the tallest building out there, and I'll river dance on that bad boy with my eyes closed. But I have to have a conversation with myself in an elevator. Go figure. Izzy, I get it. I get it. And I'll tell you something else, man. I'll tell you something else. On different boats, there were different ways to enter that, right? And depending on how you entered the passages, made it 5 times friggin' scarier. And I think it was a really interesting case study on the human mind, because one of the rooms, one of the boats rather, was a really nice boat. The government had funded it, and it looked like a yacht. Inside, it was just decked. They had leather couches, and it was massive, but it was really nice inside. But it was a research vessel, right? And they had 30 or 40 people on it. It's really, really a big boat. But I had to go down and check the water tank compartments down below to make sure that nothing that they didn't miss anything when they were painting. Right now, I wanted to just go, nope, you're good. But I did the right thing, man. I crawled through that. I really did. My old man used to say, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. And I'd be talking into the phone. I hope you're watching. Hope you're freaking watching, because I'm crawling through this stupid crap. But when I went down in that particular research vessel, in order to get down into these tunnels, you had to enter through the engine room. Now, I don't know if you've ever watched any horror movie, right, where something comes up through the water and eats everybody, but it always happens through a hole in the floor in the engine room. I'm not joking. It's like 100 out of 100 movies, right? As soon as I looked at the thing on the floor, I'm like, I'm not going in that, bro. And he's like, you did this last week. I go, no, I didn't. It was a completely different thing I did last week. He's like, no, this looks exactly. He goes, I promise you, when you get down in there, no, this looks like there's a monster in this one. It's just different. I could tell instantly there was a huge monster inside that thing. I'll be buying your book, Tommy. Love to read how people overcome. You are an interesting dude. Thank you, Sir Tedrick Walker. I'll tell you something. This book, all joking aside, this is I think this is gonna get a lot of people's attention. I don't think it's overly gratuitous, but you can't tell our story without breaking a couple of eggs, right? And in the making of this omelet, we busted some, but I'll tell you what, you'll have a real appreciation for who my brother Johnny is, and for who I am, to be sure. It give you the background in a way that you probably have not seen it. I mean, I've come here before and I've told stories. I've told stories from prison. I've told stories from the street. I've talked about robbing drug dealers or whatever, and I've run through a lot of those things. But when it's told in a book, it's just really different. They have the time to take pages and pages to recount things, and it's heavy. I have had panic attacks driving over a large bridge where I lived, going on the bus or high buildings. So I got a job working in a 20-story building. I took the bus across the bridge every weekday. Wow. Right? Face it head on, right? Face that crap head on. Honestly, I should amend what I said, because I said, you know what? I've never had a problem with heights, and that's not really the truth. I mean, I jumped off bridges as a kid into water. That's a big thing in the Northeast, and I jumped a lot on skis. So it wasn't like I wasn't afraid of 50 feet. I wasn't afraid of 100 feet. But if you got me up in the air, like I didn't like looking out of the window of an airplane as a kid. That used to freak me out really bad. And really tall buildings, you weren't getting me anywhere near the glass. I remember going to Boston, Massachusetts, in the John Hancock building down in Boston. The whole top floor is an observatory. It's all glass, and my friends would be against the glass like this, looking down and be like, are you kidding me, man? Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I got no desire to get that close to the glass. But my brother and I and one of our bosses went skydiving. He was afraid of the ocean, and we agreed to go scuba diving, and we were afraid of heights, so we agreed to go skydiving. And the skydiving was great. We ended up really liking it. My boss did not. He never did it again, but my brother and I did. Yes, my book will be an audiobook. Absolutely. In fact, I think it'll be an audiobook. You'll have a choice between whether or not you want to hear the older Scoville or the younger Scoville. I'm sure that both of us will probably. I'm sure there'll be a version with both of us doing it. Izzy says, jumping off bridges into the water, Tommy, you're getting me nostalgic for my childhood. Okay, I'll tell you, right? The really tough ones, right, were the bridges that, like the ones that had the steel girders. There was one in near the town that I lived in. It was halfway between where I lived and the girl that I used to date. It was halfway in between. But this bridge, the girder was about this wide, and if you climbed it, you could add about another 35 feet to the drop. So you would get over the pavement, then you would jump, and you're going to drop 35 feet before you get to the road. And then you had a good 35-foot drop. It was gnarly if you climbed all the way up there. But I didn't mind the jump. Like, that didn't bother me, but I hated climbing it. And I would be like this, like Velcroed that thing. And I had a friend named Jason, just dumb as a brick, and he'd be walking it, right? Cigarette hanging out of his mouth. As soon as the pitch got to the point where he could put feet, he would just walk all the way up, casual as hell. I'm not made of that at all. But yeah, did a lot of that as kids, jumping off of bridges into water. Although it is not a good idea, and you should never do this, kids. Don't do this. Don't do this. But it was good for a laugh, and we did a lot of it. That and rope swings. I mean, this was really rural New England in the summer. All right. Golden Gate Bridge. There's a company, you hire persons and they will drive you and your vehicle over the bridge. I'll be damned. Like, if you're afraid to go across, there's a business that'll do that for you. There's mother necessity at work. Someone's getting paid. Hi, Kim Roy. Oh no, cleaning the ceiling fan. Be careful, please. Least favorite part for me was landing flat on your stomach in the water. Oh man, I'm telling you, the one I'm thinking about. If you landed on your stomach from this one, I never saw it happen. Thank God. I saw a friend of mine put his hands out like this, and it was god awful. I mean, it did him really, really dirty. I grew up in the state of Vermont. Passenger shaming, at least for a good chunk of my youth. I lived in the state of Vermont, close to the ski areas. Yes, I am absolutely hydrating. I promise you. If not, Quibble will come down and throw something at me. From chasing the high to chasing the heat. You know something? AJ speaks. I wish more than anything I could tell you the title of this thing and tell you everything about it, because as soon as you hear the title, man, it's just, even the title is this is really gonna be good. The reason I never did it is because I don't have the capability to do it. Right. It's not how I'm built. Boy, oh boy, my brother is. Right. I mean, he really is. And it's I'm not exaggerating. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, man, you guys need to write a book, I wouldn't need to write a book. Right? Wouldn't need to. All kinds of cash. Had to go through an underwater tunnel over a mile long. Had to get really, really high and kept my eyes shut. Never again. Yeah, you and me both. So in college, I some friends. Yeah, Burlington is wicked cool. My one of my really close friends from when I was a kid is the mayor of Burlington. No joke. I got dirt on the mayor. I do. I got dirt on him. Anybody that hung out with me in high school, I got dirt on. I was already not a great kid. Do I have a timeline for the book? Well, how's this? There's about 200 pages already done. That's about all I can tell you. We will probably at some point we will probably do a joint book tour. That's That's something that we will probably have to do. I don't know exactly what shape that'll take, or how many cities we're going to do, or things like that. But absolutely, there's going to be a joint book tour of some kind, to be sure. The when I was in college, my I had some friends that were rushing a fraternity, wanted to be fraternity brothers, and I skied in Stowe. That was my when I was in college. I worked there as a ski patrol. Yeah, Stowe's a great area. That was the first mountain in America to allow snowboarding. Um, that you could get on the lift and go up and do it. Stowe did it before anybody else. They also had the first half pipe. Um, that was at an area. It was a really cool mountain in the for its time. It really was. I had a lot of fun there. And you they filmed "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music. Yeah. That was filmed right up there at the Van Trapp Lodge. Really, really beautiful stuff. Will the book come with a scratch and sniff? Who said that? Who said that? Oh, Jeremy Shelton, you're funny as hell. Yes, there will definitely be a scratch and sniff. You know what, Cricket? I don't mind Turbulence. I actually kind of get a kick out of Turbulence because I enjoy watching other people that can't stand it. I know that might be mean, but I love that. Well, you know what? Jay Rambo says it's great that you've lived a life that's worthy of writing a book about. There's something to be said for experiencing different parts of life, much better than the mundane. Yeah. And as I've said many times, if I could go back and start over, I don't think I'd change much, because I am very happy with where I'm at right now. And uh, I think good things are happening because of all the crap that I went through. But at the time, I mean, looking back, it's so embarrassing, the things that I did, and the fact remains that I'm reading every day. I'm reading the notes from the book, and uh, the stuff that you're going to read in there and go, boy, you know what? Tommy was a pretty good dude when he was younger. There's just not a lot of those stories in there. You know what I mean? There's just not a lot of those stories in there. But I did completely turn my stuff around. I'm not that cat. I am so much different than I used to be. So when these guys were rushing this fraternity house, Ellie J making it rain like hot sauce packets at the border. Ding. That would be a Taco Bell. Uh, these guys that were rushing the fraternity, they don't do all these stupid things, like as fraternities have guys do. But one of them was they had to crawl through a culvert. You know what that is? It's like the metal tubes that water usually runs through, and you see them by ditches or underneath roads so that they can, roads won't wash away. They allow a metal tube for water to go through, called a culvert. And this one was about a foot and a half wide, maybe 2 feet wide, not very big. And these guys had to crawl from one side of that to the other, right? And he's came back and he's telling me the story. And he's like, there's a guy in front of me. There's a guy behind me. I'm like, you can stop talking right now. I don't want to hear this. You're an idiot. I have no desire to hear the rest of this story. You're an idiot. That's really the only place that I could go with that, right? You're an idiot. The Hills, that was filmed in Vermont at the Van Trapp Lodge. Kristen Melinda. Hey, Johnny freaking Scoville. Speak of the devil. Thank you so much for the 5 memberships. Ellie, she's making it rain. Former flight attendant too? Wow. Passenger shaming. Yeah, you've done it all. I dig it. So I told the story, but the last time I had really epic, and I mean epic, uh, turbulence. I was coming back from Florida. If you've been on the boat a long time, it was when I was I stayed at that lovely house right on the beach in Florida that looked like it should have been on MTV Cribs. Coming back from that trip. So it was right after Christmas, about three or 4 Christmases ago. Whenever you come over Peavine Mountain, right? Like toward Tahoe, when you come over the top of Peavine, everything always goes crazy anyway. The plane starts. It's just one of those things. Turbulence is always there. This was the worst I had seen. I mean, the wing was right, really doing that number, right? I mean, really up and down. And at one point, Like the plane dropped and everybody's ass came off the seat. Like it was that serious that we dropped for a long time, and then when it finally leveled out, the little girl in front of us, right, she's got headphones on, she's looking at her tablet and she's going wee just, I mean, absolutely loving it. And I was looking at her dad, who was in danger of pushing his fingers through the metal thing on the armrest. Like that metal was in serious no joke danger. Dude was about to stick his fingers through it, and his kid was just, I mean, happier than a pig, and you know what, right? It's wild to look at the perspective in life, right? That kid, because dad was sitting next to her, had no fear. That's what dads are supposed to be. It's pretty jacked up when they're not. But that's why that kid had no fear. She had total faith that nothing bad was going to happen. She was sitting next to dad. Dad was dropping a deuce down his pant leg because his mom was nowhere to be seen. But I thought that was pretty cool. Tommy, you've been reading it. You think they're ready for what they're going to read? I was talking about that before you got here, actually. There you go. Von Trapp Family Lodge, just outside of Stowe. I learned to ski there back in the 70s. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? I had a girlfriend named Beth that worked at that lodge. She worked at, made a lot of money too. She used to, she would buy all the blow, sadly. Johnny, it's going to be interesting to see. I was just saying there's not a ton of feel good stuff from our past. It's going to be interesting. It really is. There's a fear. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. There's a fear that people are going to go, yeah, he's way worse than I thought he was. I don't think I can watch this dude. I think that that's a possibility, but it is what it is. Johnny could always read his story in the book, and you can read yours. Flip a coin for the joint parts. Best of both worlds in an audio book. You know what, Casey? That's actually not such a bad idea. It's not such a bad idea. You know, Johnny could read the Johnny part. I could do my part, and we get somebody really cool to narrate the thing, like James Earl Jones. I think that would be a good one, right? So on the morning of one of those deep rolling, or what's the guy from Shawshank Redemption who's been in every single movie ever made? What is his name? He played Red in Shawshank Redemption. He's another guy that I love his voice. I'd like to hear him read it too. I love to ski. Grew up in Northern California, South Lake Tahoe. Share Bear. I just left there. That's where we were living in I was living just south of or just outside Reno, but that was our backyard up there. Morgan Freeman. Thank you, passenger shaming. That's then. Hey, there's Kelly. Kelly, where have you been? It's good to see you, Kelly. I'm glad you're here. Couple of shows ago, at the very end of the show, you and I were talking, and I left a comment, and you didn't see it because you said right before you left, I doubt that this can be done without any pain. And I said, man, you really need to believe me. I said the exact same thing, but it can be done. I'm here to tell you, Kelly, it can be done. It can be done without pain. No pressure, but you know my email, right? You know what? AJ Speaks says sometimes I listen to James Earl Jones read the Bible on YouTube. You know something? I absolutely would listen to him read I'd listen to him read the Bible. I love his voice, man. I really, really dig his voice. Geoplanet Jane says, I took the train from Honshu to Hokkaido through what was at the time the longest subsea tunnel. Don't remember how long it was, but it did take a while. If it starts to get into that that area where they start using terms like the longest undersea anything, I don't want to be anywhere near it. I don't want to be anywhere near it. I just don't. You're welcome, Kelly. You're welcome. You know something? Um, I will, I will always and forever have a unusual connection to to people who struggle with the morphine molecule. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Gillespie. What a nice thing to say. Thank you. Um, Johnny, you do have a busy day. You know that he's Johnny. Johnny's putting ridiculous hours in, but you know what? This is a labor of love, and I think boy, it's going to be pretty wild to I Johnny's probably you guys have a pretty good idea who I am. Johnny probably is. It's going to be a little bit more of a shock, I think, about Johnny, but yeah, you know something. This book really is epic. I'm not joking. I have faith in my brother and everything he does. I really do. L Bowman, good to see you. I have faith in him and everything he does, but when the stuff starts coming in and you read it, I've read, no disrespect to anybody, but you're hard pressed to have read more books than me, right? I'm a freak, and I spent a lot of time with nothing to do but read books. I didn't watch TV. I didn't do movies. I read books all day, every day. Oh my God. Mary says, I haven't felt comfortable in any tunnel since the chunks of concrete fell in the tunnel in Boston while we were in there. Yeah, there's one for the no freaking chance file. If I go into a tunnel and I see things fall out of the ceiling onto where I am, never again. Never again would my vehicle go into a tunnel. I'll be really honest with you. I don't like the idea of going into a tunnel, period, anyway. Right? I don't. Yes, Miss Sunrise Dawn. I absolutely am. I ran into really bad problems, and then I had a nervous breakdown. I could probably word that in a bunch of other ways, but there you go. All right, that's pretty much where it is. But yeah, it's coming. Dad's a pretty popular plane mechanic back in the day. Met a lot of celebrities. Played softball with Tom Cruise. Said he's a dick. And Carol Burnett was cool. Flipped out about meeting Lucy Lawless. Love that. Love that. Yeah, the Carol Burnett would have been a big one. I would have been really stoked to meet her. She was a legend, man. Like that's the real deal with the L word. She was a legend, big time. Um, that said, little Tom Cruise is not completely worthless. We share the same birthday. Other than that, he is completely worthless, though. He really is. He is absolutely no joke. As far as I'm concerned, uh, he's complicit as hell in the stuff that's going on in this cult. It's the way I look at it. At the level he's at, ain't no chance in hell he's not acutely aware of just how horrid people are getting treated. Right? Rob Lowe was in love with your aunt. Wow, man, I might have gone with Rob Lowe. Are we talking 80s Rob Lowe? Because he was pretty handsome in the 80s, man. I was actually a pretty big Rob Lowe fan. I liked Rob. He got in trouble, and a lot of people sort of never let him forget it. It was a statutory thing. I can't remember what the age difference was, but it was a statutory thing. And well, maybe it's because I had one, but I don't look at those maybe the same way. By the way, 16 and 15 before any of you start getting too rowdy about judging me. Lost a coworker from parts of an overpass detaching and falling on his car. Oh my God, Izzy. I still panic when I'm stuck under one of now a decade later. That's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. No, I'm a good foot taller than Tom Cruise. I've told the story on the boat about a billion times, so I won't bore everybody. But I will just say that I had the opportunity to meet the guy at a party, and he didn't have a sense of humor. I told him a joke I thought was pretty funny, and he just kind of stared straight through me. And when he opened the door, I was damn near the same height as him. He was standing up. You had to step to get into the house, and he had on cowboy boots. So by the time I walked up into the house, I was considerably taller than him. was considerably taller than him. The Lincoln Tunnel. You know something? That's probably the tunnel that I have the most perspective on. Bette Midler. That's so funny. I remember that. Guess what? I have a Nikki Six story too. Oddly enough, I have an entire band story. When I was living in Houston, um, one of my guys were supplied all of the bands that came through and played in Houston. If a band was coming to town, he was basically the guy that sold them blow. And this is when Crew was going hard to the paint. And I actually have a picture because when they came back to buy it, I don't know, the third or fourth time that they had bought, a small truckload, uh, my friend goes, "Hey, let me get a picture." Nobody wanted a picture taken. It was like, 4 in the morning, and God's flashlight was about to turn on, and they look just like you do when you've been doing blow, for a couple of days. But and Heather Locklear was in the photo too. Did not look like Heather Locklear, like you remember Heather. But it was a fun photo. I'll tell you what. And the funniest part was Spanx's mom because when we were packing stuff up, it was right after I got married, and she's going through, and I said, "Just put all that stuff in a box. There's pictures," and she's like, "Is this a picture? Is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Molly Crew." Put that in the box. And I wasn't saying it to be like, yeah, I know every band in the world. I was trying to get her to hurry up because she kept stopping on every photo. And she's like, "No, no, I want to hear this story. What the hell is this?" But I was like, "Yeah, just throw it in there." God's flashlight. Yeah, that's what I always called the morning when that sun comes up. God goes, "What are you doing? What have you been doing, huh? How many times did you go to the ATM last night? You spent how much?" Oh man. Oh man, lived in New Jersey. Yeah, I hated that tunnel. I hated that tunnel. Twice in my life, I have been face to face with a serial killer. Good God. The last time was the DC sniper at my local grocery store just hours before they were caught. Wow. You know something? That is one of the most unusual time periods in my life. I remember the DC shooter when all of that was going on. Um, I was so strung out and I was not making money. This was in one of the, yeah, this was probably, I was really in a bad way. I had been blackballed as a public speaker. I couldn't work as a public speaker. Uh, and I had worked phone rooms, but the word was out that I had a really bad drug problem, and the locals didn't want me there because chances are I was going to get everybody in the room high, and then the next thing you know, production would go to hell. So it was getting very difficult to make a living, and I ended up robbing a bunch of drug dealers and whatever. But every single damn morning when I went to pick up, they would be talking on the radio about that case. And as we often talk about here, the amount of time you spend in friggin' parking lots waiting for drug dealers. But I was sitting in those parking lots every morning, listening over and over again to to the reports. And I remember so distinctly the day that they caught them. That we found out that they weren't really looking for a white van and all of the things that we thought. Yeah, that was really crazy. My Nikki Six story happened after he got clean. Well, you know something? I prefer that Nikki Six. I really do. I prefer the Nikki Six that is clean. I prefer, I think, everybody clean. You are not related to Joy Mangano, although joy is a word I think of when I think of you, Tampa Bay. True story. You have been such a cool person from the very first time that I met you online and meeting you in person. You have just been such a kind human being. I absolutely adore you. I really do. Hey, it's the trips captain. Ahoy! Glad you're here. And everybody knows that the bird is the word. Yeah, that is one of those songs that if you get me going, it could be really bad. AJ Speaks says, my stepdad has photos of an intimate weekend with Shaka Khan. That's hot. That is hot. It really is. Uh, I liked Shaka Khan, by the way. I really did. I thought she was just lovely. Right around that, the time when Purple Rain came out. Yeah, that was great. But what a trip, when you brought up the DC shooter. Instant flashback. I remember that time so well. I was I think that is so imprinted on my mind because of how hellaciously unhappy I was. There's no other way to put it. I was I was so freaking unhappy during that entire time. Um, the only famous people I've seen are wrestlers from a distance. I wasn't going to pay 40 or 50 for a pics and autograph, so I saw them. Yeah, I don't blame you. Um, you know what? If we did this one, I would blow your mind. I'm not joking. I have been Apollonia was pretty damn hot. I don't know if which way I would go on that because I was a pretty big fan of both, but I did like them a lot actually. Um, yeah, if we did the famous thing, the uh, the deal that we did, we had a lot of stars. There was like 72 people in what we called our champions program, and these were stars who were endorsing what we were doing. That was not There was a great big hustle involved in that, but there were really stars there. They didn't know, they didn't realize that there was a hustle taking place at all. And I'll be really honest, in the beginning, I didn't either. I'm not making that up. That one actually really, really bummed me out because I put an awful lot of effort into that. And I mean, here's the deal: I wasn't a good person at that time, but I also wasn't getting any of the money they were skimming. Right? If they were skimming money, I wanted it. Felt like I should have been in on it. I was building that thing. But anyway, um, the people that I met, I just met a lot of really, really famous people through that. And I met a president. I met a former president through that. I met Jimmy Carter. Actually got to fly on an airplane with him, which was just lovely. We were People were paying each other to take stints sitting next to him. I'm not even being funny. It was a very long flight. Uh, Apollonia is still beautiful, says Lumen. I haven't seen her in a long time, but there was a girl. I'm not going to remember her name, but there was a woman from Australia, and I think she may have only had one or two hits. By the way, it's not Sheena Easton, right? Because I'm going to describe somebody that very easily could have been Sheena Easton, but it's not. But this girl had. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but she had the finest fundament in history. No one had a better back end than this girl, and I can't for the life of me remember her name, but she was a whole lot of lovely. You know what, Lumen? First try, right out of the park. That's exactly who it was. What are the odds that with what I said, you got that? Honestly, that's amazing. I didn't give you good enough clues to get that, although she did really have a great backside. Oh, you knocked River Phoenix to his butt? Yes, I loved Kylie Minogue. I thought she was absolutely lovely. Uh, I really did. I thought she was just lovely. So Tina knocked River Phoenix to his butt. Didn't make the bodyguards happy. You know what? The River Phoenix's death was such a bummer to me. It's still a bummer to me. It's Kyle still has a great booty. I would not doubt that, and I'm open to looking. I'm open to checking it out because I'm that kind of person. I'm a team player. Um, River Phoenix was so good in Stand By Me. He was good in everything. Honestly, I don't think. Can you think of a role he did that he didn't nail? Honestly, he was a pro even as a kid. He was a pro. Tough life too. Really odd life. But Um, Excuse me whilst I Google Kylie Minogue. You'll thank me later. She was just lovely. Oh wow, 12-year-old me uh, to take a picture with Farrah Fawcett, and she took my hand on her butt. Wow, I would have. I was a pretty big fan of Farrah Fawcett. Uh, many a day spent staring at her in a red bathing suit. Giggity. Tampa B says my booty fell off around 8 years ago. Oddly enough, I've lost quite a bit of mine too recently. Stan Lee kissed my cheek 3 separate times and signed a poster for my kid. I was mom of the year. You know what? Yeah, you were mom of the year. You probably got 2 years out of that, didn't you? That's pretty tough right there, ma. Um, I'm not surprised uh, at all. Lisa, you're a babe. If I were him, I probably would have done the same thing. If you're Stan Lee, you can get away with that too, right? I mean, and that's right in Anna Nicole's wheelhouse. He was about 105, wasn't he? He grew to a very, very ripe old age. Lumen says, I'm freakishly good at music trivia, but also we're close in age, Tommy. Yeah, Lumen, here's the deal, though. I'm impressed, don't get me wrong, right? But I didn't give you enough of a hint. It's still wildly impressive. It's like when you watch $20,000 Pyramid, the person goes, okay, it's kind of, and the guy goes, chocolate babies. And the person goes, yes. It's like, wait a second, man. There wasn't even a clue. All I said was Australian with a great butt. And instantly he was like, yep, I know who that is. Why are broken people always so good at acting? Great question, Joel Lawson. And I got a great answer. And I have a great answer. Because really broken people very often get through a lot of the tough situations they have by creating personas to deal with that. And I'm not talking about a split personality or any such crap, but they affect a certain, they're different with different people, right? And they have to be. I think broken people do this a lot, and for that reason, a lot of them are already acting, right? They're already acting constantly. We see, and I think that very often the pain that is right underneath the surface with broken people, it's very easy to tap into, right? It's not really difficult to to tap into that kind of pain, and I think that that probably is an asset to somebody that's doing that kind of acting. I used to tan naked till I burned my starfish. Yeah, well, that would do it. And there's a sentence that if you had told me I would have been uttering live on YouTube, if you told me that this morning, um, I might have doubted you. No, I probably just would have thought it would have been on my other channel. Broken people don't want to worry the people they love. Yeah, Jim Carrey's broken to be sure. I think he is. I think he's a guy that's fairly damaged, and I don't say that as in an insult, but um, I think that I've done some deep diving on the cat, and he doesn't seem. He seems like the rest of us. He seems like the rest of us. I think that he's, I think he's struggling. Kelly disagrees. I'm not surprised. I'm not exactly sure what you're disagreeing with, but I'm not surprised and not offended either. But if it's yeah, I don't know which one which one you're disagreeing on. But yeah, I think that the Stanislavski's method acting, right? That you're trying to bring yourself to a place, go back to that place where you were really emotional and you were really hurt. Well, I think broken people can do that really friggin' easy. That's one of those things. When I first met my husband, he said he really liked Reba. We joked that he should call her. My grandfather, every single time, this is my dad's dad, every time the phone would ring, he would go in the other room and pick it up and he would go, Raquel, I told you never to call me here. Like she was Raquel Welsh on the other side end of the phone. He did it all the time, every time the phone rang. And my grandmother would say, tell her to come get you. I'm not making dinner. Used to laugh about it a lot. Jim Carrey has gone down the rabbit hole with psychedelics. I think that there's a pretty good chance there's truth to that. I think there's a pretty good chance there's truth to that. And did I like Kirstie Alley? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I did. I think I did. In early days of Kirstie Alley, she was so cute. The when she did Cheers, I absolutely preferred her to the previous woman in Cheers. Yeah, that's my grandfather was funny. Boy, was he funny! But the two of them, they had a very beautiful relationship. Honestly, I remember even as a kid being kind of blown away by that. That I remember thinking to myself as a kid, I don't know that I ever saw him fight. I never saw him argue. I saw once when she was talking about some recipe, and my grandfather said, "You always use too much cumin." And she said, "I don't put cumin in that." And he said, "Look, you don't have to get offended about it." He said, I'm just saying you use too much cumin, it's nothing personal. And she said, "I don't even use cumin in that recipe. I think you're making a mistake." And he goes, "There you go, wanting to get upset, right? Getting all bent out of shape." And all I said was that, you sometimes use too much cumin. And then my little old grandmother said, "I said, I don't use cumin in it, you shithead." And I looked over and I caught my dad, right? And the two of us made eye contact. And uh, it became a joke because the only two people that saw it were me and my dad. There was no one else around from my immediate family. So it was one of those moments that we just shared together, and it was magic. I laughed for a really long time. Well, I'm glad I'm helping you stay hydrated. That's a good thing. Uh, Kirstie Alley never did get out of Scientology, though. No, she did not, and that's unfortunate. I dated a celebrity, but she passed away 10 years or so ago. I'm sorry to hear that. And Lumen says, I think method acting can make some actors unwell. You're not alone in this thought, right? There's a lot of people. Joel Lawson says it's easy to overuse cumin. She didn't even use cumin, you shithead. Oh man, did I laugh? I couldn't believe it. I didn't think my grandmother was capable of that. So when she did, it was just, oh man, it absolutely knocked me down. And it became a running joke in my family. Like if you heard the word cumin, I would just look at my dad and we'd start laughing. Yeah, you know what, Kristen Melinda, because you can picture it, right? You can picture a little grandmother doing it. Or another time, we go out to Long Island where they lived, and they lived right on the Great South Bay. Um, and we went walking into the house. It must have been mid-June because school was out. And we go into the house, and my grandfather was playing solitaire at the kitchen table with one of those hats on with the flaps that go over your ears, right? And a jacket with the collar pulled up and gloves. I mean, he looked like he was getting ready to run a dog sled in the Iditarod. You know what I mean? Like just, I said, Grandpa, what are you doing? He goes, freezing my ass off. He said, your grandmother refuses to turn up the heat. He said, so I dress differently. He said, now we're both comfortable. But once again, I laughed so hard. But he wasn't going to fight her. He wasn't angry about it. He just thought, if I'm cold and she's warm, you do what you do. I'll just dress differently. And he had on the hat, the coat, the gloves. Mo Love, make that a quick shower. Just kidding. On a family trip, we ate at the same restaurant where Jonathan Winters was having dinner. My dad asked the waiter to ask him for an autograph. The waiter brought my dad a drawing, an autograph from him. Oh, wow. I loved him. He was such a incredible comedian, and he struggled with mental health as well. He actually had spent some time in inpatient. He was kind of open about that towards the end of his life. But what a comedian! Oh my God, was he funny? Joel Lawson, they were an absolute hoot to be around. They really were. I remember the night of my prom, right? They happened to be in town, just, because they lived in New York. I wasn't in New York, but it was the night of my prom. And my grandmother came up to me and said, "You have money?" I said, "Yeah, of course I have money." I said, "I have a ton of money. I've been saving for this all summer." And she said, "Well, I want to give you a little bit more." She said, "Just, let me throw in a little on dinner, whatever, no big deal." I said, "Okay." And she handed me two $100 bills. Early, 80s, right? Long time ago. But she handed me two $100 bills and she said, "Don't tell your grandfather I did this, please." I said, "I promise," right? I promise. And about 4, maybe 5 minutes later, she left the room and I was over by the television and my grandfather walked up to me and said, "What time is are you picking up your girl?" I said, "I'm going to leave here in about an hour." His hand comes out like he's going to shake it. And he hands me three $100 bills. And he said, "I want you to have a good time tonight." He said, "I want you to take this." I said, "Grandpa, I can't take that." I said, "I can't." He goes, "No, no, I really want you to have this." I said, "Listen, somebody else already gave me money." I said, "I already have cash." He goes, "I don't care." He said, "I want you to have this anyway, but don't tell your grandmother." I started to laugh. He goes, "Was it your grandmother that gave you the money?" And I go, "No." He goes, "Yeah, it was." And it was so funny because the two of them knew, they had to know they were both doing it, right? But before I left, I actually was given money by my grandmother one more time because she came over to give me crap and said, "Did you tell him?" I said, "No, I swear to God, I didn't tell him." He goes, "Well, he's looking at me." I said, I didn't." I said, "Look, he gave me money." I said, "That's probably why he's doing it." I said, "He gave me $300." And I think she was offended that he gave me more than her. I'm not kidding. So I got another C note out of it. And yeah, they really were an adorable couple. They were. Nick, good to see you. Hey, everybody, do me a favor. Hit the bell for notifications so that when I go live, you find out that I go live. Then more people see me, and I dig that. And also, hit subscribe, right? Statistically speaking, about 20% of you don't hit subscribe. I don't know why, right? Maybe it's me, but you just don't want to hit subscribe. Well, knock it off. Hit subscribe, please. We'd love to have you. I wish I still had a grandma to give me money. You know what? Me too. Me too. That's an awesome date for 600 bucks. Yeah, right. That would be good today. This was way back in the 80s, Um, yeah, they really were adorable. And I remember when I went and picked up my girlfriend, I was driving a Mercedes Benz because my my godfather had a Porsche, Mercedes Benz, Audi dealership. He's my dad's best friend, and he lent me a car for the prom, which was very very cool. But he he so I was driving this blue Mercedes, just looking pimpy in my tuxedo. But when I went and picked up my date, I took her back to my place so that my grandparents could meet her because they were over the moon. They were just so excited about the whole thing. Shannon Smith says, "Never get notification for only your channel." Well, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of people keep getting unsubscribed from our channel too, but it is what it is, right? We're here. That makes me happy. Dangerous Journeyman says, "Had Christy sought treatment for her cancer when she first discovered it, she'd have lived. She tried to treat it with Scientology tech. Same with Kelly Preston." That's awful, isn't it? Awful. And I told you I met a bunch of people that they were Scientologists, famous Scientologists, and met them all at the same time. Both of them were there. Kirstie Alley was there, and so was Kelly Preston. And of all of the people there, the nicest of all of them, the only one who felt like they were not just a Stepford human, because the men were the same, not Stepford wives, but just they were programmed. The only one who looked even remotely human-like at all was Kelly Preston. Um, yeah, I thought she was actually quite lovely. I'm late, but I'm catching up. I'm glad. I probably would have hit on her. Truthfully, I probably would have. But I had someone with me that wouldn't have been a good idea. My dad let me drive his 1974 Datsun 240Z to my prom. Holy hell, how cool is your dad? How cool is your dad to let you take the 240Z? Forget about it. Forget about it. So the following year, I took another Mercedes from him, and that one was turbocharged. But you know something? I didn't screw up either car. I didn't drive drunk. I didn't crash it. I signed the contract with him, promising not to drink and drive. And I didn't, amazingly. I got scaffazed, but I then did not get behind the wheel of the car. I just slept there. For real. I actually took that very seriously. But I remember my godfather talking to me months later after the junior prom, and he said to me, uh, you brought that car back. He said, and we washed it to make sure it looked good. He said, we put it back on the lot. He said, and my salesman took somebody out for a test drive. And the person said, I'd like to test drive this blue one. And they got in the car and they went around town. And as they made the turn at the village green, they were now facing in the opposite direction. He said the sun was in the guy's eyes, and he put down the visor, and a 3-pack of Trojan condoms fell out of the visor and landed on this old man's lap. And I remember my godfather saying, yeah, the salesman was not amused. Hey, Mr. T, good to see you. Kelly, everybody has, I believe, we've all come to this at this point, and I don't think that what you're doing is spreading rumors. I think it's pretty well established at this point that he is most assuredly, at the bare minimum, bisexual. There are far too many pictures of him in very intimate kisses with men, not a peck on the cheek, not, but very, very like you would kiss someone that you have a relationship with. And you know what? I don't care, right? Not, but knowing what I know about Scientology, this is a guy that dedicated his life to that, and according to them, right, that he's that's absolutely awful, right? It needs to be cured. That's what they believe. You had a Firebird in high school? Oh my goodness. You know something? And I've seen pictures of you when you were young. I'm telling you, I'd have been way, way intimidated by you, Tampa B. I mean it. You would have been intimidating. Yeah, he hits on massage therapists. This is the truth, sadly. But this is what we this is something that is a recurring theme. It is a recurring theme. Yeah, 1-1 on the tone scale. See, Lisa from Jersey knows. And how sad is that for somebody like John Travolta, who is literally, I mean, so in the 70s, right? He joined up in the 70s. You're right, Jamie Palmer. There's nothing to cure uh, apart from Scientology. Sadly, I can't imagine well, of course I can. I can't imagine it because this happens in so many real religions, honestly. But this is it's pretty ugly, and I wish that weren't the case. How did I meet Ron? You don't think you heard about that one? Actually, it was pretty simple. My brother had been a fan of his channel for a long time, and had been watching it for years. So when I got out, and we were starting to have a conversation about my OT8 friend, and he said to me, "Oh man, there's a channel I think you ought to check out." And right as this happened, he was putting stuff up about the Danny Masterson trial, and there were some people that were talking about. They were using the term jail and prison the exact same way, and it was starting to get a little bit confusing, right? It was starting to get a little bit confusing, and he had some people on that were he didn't have anybody on that had been to prison. He had some people on that had done jail time, and it's very, very different. You can't, somebody comes on and says, I was in county jail, and guys that that had R charges, right? People that graped people, those individuals, they didn't get, no one treated them bad at all. Yeah, they're waiting for a trial, right? And people need to protect them, right? They really go out of their way to make sure that nobody gets injured in a county jail. They really try to make that happen because you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So in theory, all those people are still innocent, right? So it's a little bit different. And then I had reached out and said, "Hey, my name is Tommy Scoville, and sadly, I spent some time in prison. But if you would be curious, I could bring you up to speed a little bit on some of the processes you're talking about, right? Because I think I think you're getting information that's not the best." And he reached out to me. He called me and said, "Hey, can you go live today?" I said, "Oh, yeah, that would be freaking great." I said, "I wasn't trying to get you to put me on the show." He goes, "You don't want to go on?" I said, "No, I'd love to go on." But so that was it, and I went live that day, and that video's got 350,000 views or something. It's a lot of views. That video really, really did well. I am not on paper. AJ Speaks. You can ask. I killed my paper July of last year. I killed my paper July of last year. 50% of my paper. I killed that in half time. I still had over a year and a half of time left on paper, but I did not get a write up. I didn't fail a drug test. I never missed a payment. I did every friggin' thing right. And on top of that, because doing everything right isn't enough. I mean, the lawyer I hired said that. That's great that you did everything you're supposed to, but that's not enough. And then I talked about the lifeboat, and she went, "Oh, really?" And this is it. I promise. The reason I got off paper was because I was running the lifeboat, and you know what? It was a really good time for him to look too, because we were killing it. We were killing it. We were getting tons of views. There were a lot of people here. It was a really good time for them to look at it. But yeah, they kicked me off. So you knew an OT8 and met Aaron independently of each other. Crazy. I'll tell you something else. I knew a bunch of Scientologists. I'm a I'm a con man. That's what I used to do. And sadly, right, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, just being really honest. They love those the kind of rackets that I was in. A lot of Scientologists get into that kind of stuff. If you look at network marketing or multi-level marketing or direct sales or business opportunity or any of that garbage, quick flip real estate, right? All of those things that somebody can tell you how you can make money in 20 minutes, right? Then there's going to be a Scientologist somewhere involved in that, like Grant Cardone. Yeah, no problem at all. Diary of a Ghost. And then we got a very good response off of the first one, and everybody was just, I mean, super kind to me. I think after that first one, I probably did 3,000 subscribers in like 2 days. I was like, holy hell! And he continued to have me on, and we continued to put up content together, and that kind of stopped about the time that I stopped talking about Danny Masterson. I'm done saying that dude's name. I'm done talking about that dude. I'm just done. And I realize that I'm costing the boat money by doing that. But it is what it is. I mean, he's a payday. That low life is a payday, right? I was doing 50,000 views when I talked about him, but I didn't get into this to do this. You know what I mean? To do that. That's not why I started this, right? At all. Uh, so here's the funny part. So after I get to talking to AA Ron, um, he said, I'm going out to Los Angeles for the sentencing, and I said, yeah. He invited me to go out, and I said, yeah, I'd love that. And Alan Ballantyne, my best friend, was over here from Australia at the time, so we went out to LA and we hung out with Aaron out there for that, which was an awful lot of fun as well, right? Really had a good time over there with him, and We uh we don't do a lot of stuff together these days because we're just I'm not really there's not much reason to grab me anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not I don't mean that in a bad way. He this is a dude with a huge channel, and I think if it came back up and he needed a convict, there's an excellent chance that he would call me. You know what I mean? We're friends, but he's a very busy cat. He really is. You caught my live from the courthouse with Alan. Unbelievable timing. You know what, Lumen? I broke the law to get to be the first one out. I broke the law to be the first one out. I looked at Alan and I said, I'm breaking this bag open because when everyone else is trying to get their phone out of the bag, I'm going to be running out of there so that I can go live. And when I opened that thing, the sound that it made, it sounded like somebody took two baseball bats, metal ones, and slapped them against each other. It reverberated through the entire court. Everyone was like looking around, trying to figure out who had just snapped this thing open. And I'm trying to look all nonchalant, and the woman next to me went, "You're busted." I thought, "Oh no!" But uh, as it worked out, as everybody was going by, you had to stop, and they take this key. They to keep you from taking pictures. They lock your phone into a bag, and on the way out, you have to get them to open the bag with a key. And as everyone was in line, I just threw them the bag, went zipping on out, and worked out. It worked out. I used to sell cars. I knew there was a reason I hated Cardone. There you go. Uh, so once Aaron and I got out to LA and we started shooting the breeze, and I said to him, uh, I know a lot of Scientologists, and he said, "How's that?" And I told him why, and he goes, "Oh no, they're super into those industries." He goes, "Any names that you can still remember?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I'll just use the Emmett. Won't give you the guy's whole name because well, I'm sure that will piss somebody off. But my friend Emmett, and I tell him the name, and he goes, "Oh, does he have a wife named?" And he spit it out that fast, and I go, "Yeah, absolutely." And he goes, "Not only do I know him, right, but we spent a crap load of time together." He said that was before he got, you know, before they declared him or whatever they did, and he was still in good standings. The two of them hung out a lot, which was just ironic, because he knew him as this as a an OT8 and a guy in good standing and all this stuff. I just knew him as a straight con man, like a straight dirt bag con man. In fact, he ripped a friend of mine off on his wedding day. I'm not kidding. Got him for like 25 G's on his wedding day. He's a cold-hearted piece of work. He really is. Diary of a Ghost. I love that. You know what? It's this is the funny thing. That's right. The cure for disconnection is connection. This is this is kind of funny that but it's the perfect example of what you're trying to do with this whole thing, right? This is what they talk about when you draw it up on paper, right? You want to start doing collaborations with other content creators so you can jump the curb. Now people can start seeing you a little outside your normal genre. This got me dropped in front of all of the anti-Scientologist crowd. And the I was able to meet the Jane Does while I was out at the trial in Leah, and it was really a big deal. You know what I mean? It was really a big deal. It went from just making a video and sort of weighing in on some prison stuff to really getting an appreciation for just how disgusting this cult is. There's nothing. There's really nothing on earth that's more foul than how they handled that entire thing. The cult knew what he was doing. They knew what he was doing. And what did they do? They put him in the room with one of his victims so that he could victimize her again, right? Forcing her to tell the story. They're the lowest form of scum on planet Earth. Yeah, prayers for the does. And that's been one of the highlights of everything I've done on YouTube, one of the highlights has been to meet them. It's been absolutely humbling. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Uh, we throw the word hero around, and sometimes we use it for some really stupid reasons, right? Guys that can throw balls and throw balls through hoops, and the people that we call heroes. But what the Jane Does did to walk into that building and get up on the stand, some of the toughest people I ever saw in my life, honestly, and they're my heroes. That's no joke. That's conquering some really serious fear to make sure that that dirtbag couldn't do that again. So heroic, it really is. It's and I've been blessed to be able to see him a couple of times after that. I've been blessed to run into him at when I go out to protest. It's always one of the highlights of any trip to LA is running into them, because it's, again, I just what are the odds, right? That a bank robber, you know, how all of this falls into place, right? And then I find myself out there with everybody. It's amazing. You just don't know what this ride's ever going to be, right? You really don't. Shannon Smith. I used Spanx to attract chicks. A little, yeah. I did a little when he was a kid, and not, sometimes just by accident. You know, uh, he'd be in the car seat in my. I had a little convertible, little British sports car, teeny little British convertible, and Spanky would be in the car seat in the passenger seat. And because of how it was set up, basically be at eye level. a little 2-year-old Spanky with his his saddle shoes on and wearing sunglasses, and we'd just be zipping through town. And yeah, every single girl that saw him, he was just toe headed. His hair was white when he was born. He had the blondest hair you've ever seen, and he was, yeah. Women just really hard not to look at Spanky. He was beautiful. He really was beautiful. Did you rob banks online, in person, like Point Break? Well, not quite like the Stopwatch gang. Um, they had a slightly different MO. I did not have a partner when I did the things that I did. I never had a getaway driver. It was always the lone. I did it by myself. So it was yeah, a little different that way. I didn't use a weapon. I didn't threaten anybody. I went in and said, "Give me, give me the top and bottom drawer right now." That's uh, that's the one that that was basically what I did. But I never used a weapon. You use a weapon, you get a lot more time, and I knew that. I was not in Florida, but do I know Larry Lawton? Just from having done stuff with him on YouTube, Larry and I have met. But I did not know Larry before that. I met Larry after starting YouTube. The reason for robbing the banks was because I had a really, really big habit. I had a huge drug habit. It was somewhere between $600 and $700 a day. So I couldn't speak anymore. I wasn't allowed to work as a public speaker anymore. So probably wasn't the greatest idea, but I opted for bank robbery. Loved Point Break. Keanu and Swayze loved it too. When it says based on actual events, so little of that was based on actual events. They used stopwatches. They used rubber masks that looked like the dead presidents, right? And that's it. Nothing else from that movie was real. Nothing. They didn't surf. They didn't jump out of airplanes. They weren't trying to fund their endless, summer vacation, whatever. They were doing just what I was doing. They were robbing banks to get high. That I wore a disguise every single time. I wore wigs. I wore prosthetic face stuff. I got very, very into it. Um, did any tellers ever just laugh at you? Sort of. The last one that I robbed. Uh, the last one that I robbed, the woman said, "Oh, they said you might come here." And I went, "What? What did you just say?" She's like, "Yeah, the FBI came in here and talked about you." And yep, that was about the end of that. But she was smiling and laughing. She thought it was funny as hell that I was in there. She's like, "You're the gentleman bank robber." I said, "No, I'm not, and I am out of here." Uh, yeah, when they say based on true events, you really got to take that with a grain of salt. How did they catch me? Well, they didn't catch me red-handed, right? The way they caught me was somebody ratted on me, plain and simple. A guy that had been a guy that I had been paying to keep from getting sick for a very long time. A guy that I used to help get well. He's a drug addict, not a partner, just a youngster. Didn't really have a family, and yeah, oddly enough, I got. So when the FBI called me in, it was for a bank that had been robbed in Nevada. I never robbed a bank in Nevada in my life. Never happened. I lived in Nevada. I never robbed a bank in the state that I lived in, right? Because that doesn't make any damn sense. That's stupid. However, this dude did that. This dude did exactly that. In fact, he robbed a bank a mile from my house. Not a mile from his house, a mile from my house. He did it in a Navy pea coat. And the next thing you know, I had just we'll do the whole story. Why the hell not? I had just I was waking up in the morning after a pretty good night of partying. I had been at the casino, and I had been doing a lot of tar, and I had also been drinking. I took a girl home, so I was waking up in this girl's house, and I got up to use the shower, and I was going to try to get out as early as I could. So I was in there showering, and this girl walked into the bathroom and said, "Hey, you got a phone call?" And I said, "If it's my son, tell him I'll call him right back." And she said, "No, it's somebody from the FBI, and they want to talk to you about some bank robbery." And I said, "Maybe you could take a number, and I'll call him back." That's how that went down. Then I called them and I said, "I'm sorry, you're looking for me for what?" And they said, "You're a suspect in a bank robbery." And I was like, "And what bank did I rob?" And he said, "Wells Fargo." Told me which one. I said, "Okay, you want me to come in and talk to you?" I think they were shocked, but I was like, "I'll come on down. I got nothing to do." So I drove down there and spent 4 or 5 hours in there, and then I left and went home. And from the first time that they called me in for an interview until the day they arrested me was about 20 days, 25 days, something like that. And they're following me everywhere I go. Like I go to get dope, and they're not trying to they want me to know they're following me, right? They're not trying to be slick in any way, shape, or form. They're driving big as hell SUVs. They are right behind me, and they're looking for me to rob a bank or do something like that. They never harassed me. They knew I was buying dope. They had to, but they never harassed me for any of that stuff. And then they called in everybody I knew. Even the poor girl that I picked up in the casino, whose only problem was that she was dumb enough to let me take her home. They harassed her, went to where she worked. Just awful. I got a phone call. I got a call. My phone was found at the scene of a burglary. I said, "The phone I'm speaking to you on," right? Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I have used a prosthetic nose before. Yeah, not in every, not on every bank, but I have used one before. Uh, when I got arrested, there was one helicopter. When I got arrested, there was one helicopter, but there was every single agency in the world. There was I've never seen it looked like the last scene of the Blues Brothers. I'm not joking you. There were that many cops there. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, it had to happen, people, right? Without that, I wouldn't be here. Sorry, people. I've been, let's just say it's slightly drier where I live than it is here. Where I live, there's not much of anything. It's so this kid. So I kept getting investigating, and they kept calling me in and asking me questions, and it was always the same thing. Let's give the guy a name. We'll call him AJ since AJ's right there. Um, they say, listen, if we find AJ, is he going to tell us that you did this? If we find AJ, is he going to tell us this, this, and this? And they just keep asking you the same crap over and over again. So if we find what's his name, he's not going to tell us different then, right? And after about 30 hours over the course, I don't know how many days, this jackwagon says to me, well, then why is AJ telling us this? And I went, what? What did you just say? And he goes, if we find AJ, I said, that's not what you just said, bro. You just said, why is he telling us that you robbed the bank? So you already got this dude arrested. I said, all right, then we're done talking, right? At this point, we're done talking. I said, you can go ahead and arrest me now then, right? And they didn't. Absolutely blew my mind, right? The guy was like, don't leave town. Yeah, I'm sure I could get right on an airplane and sneak the hell out with all of the people from the FBI following me. But no, I did not give myself up. I went home and I called Jack and I said, boy, they pulled me in again today. He said, me too. And I said, did you, you didn't tell him anything? He said, of course not. He said, but he said, the kid that robbed the bank is saying you did it. I said, yeah, I got that. So we were driving down the road on our way to pick up dope, right? And there was a car coming, a police car coming this way, and he did like the TJ Hooker, pull the e-brake and slide around, and then jumped over the median, right? Just racking out the bottom of the car and everything. And my boy goes, boy, they're after somebody, Jack said. I go, no, Jack, they're after us. And we ended up pulling over, and yeah, they a lot of automatic weapons, a bullhorn, a lot of screaming. And I honestly said to them, it was really probably one of my better moments of just really being funny. I was trying to cook a shot of dope. There was one bag, that was all we had, and I was trying to cook this shot because I knew there was not much chance I was going to be doing one later, right? So I figured probably ought to get this one in before this is the last time I'm gonna be well for a really long time. So as I'm cooking this, they're screaming at me through this bullhorn, get your effing hands out the window. And they're yelling. Jack's already got his hands out the window, and he keeps talking to me. He's like, hey man, put your hands out the window. And I'm like, I'm gonna, but I'm doing this first. And he says, yeah, hey, they're freaking out. I go, what are they going to do? Arrest us? I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't think this is really going to be an issue. So after I finished what I was doing, I rolled down the window. And as the window went down, they were like, let me see your hands. And as I was putting my hands out, I said, is this about that community service I blew off in Sparks? I thought that was actually really, funny. That amused the hell out of me. And then to just really, really bum you out as the cop starts going through my pants to pat me down. He pulls out a syringe and 2 bags of heroin. He says to me, is there anything in your pocket that's going to stick you? I go, yeah. And apparently I was the first person to ever say that to him because he goes, what? I said, yeah, I have a needle in my pocket. If the cap's off, it's going to stick you. Hopefully the cap's on. And so I got the thing out of my pocket for him, and he reaches in and pulls I would have done that. I swear to you, I didn't even know they were in my pocket, or I would have been doing them. I still would have been in the truck. But he puts them up on the hood of the car and he's like, "Oh, that's going to catch you, felony." And one of the U.S. Marshals comes walking up, the FBI guy there too. And the FBI guy says to the local cop, he goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "Dope. It was on him." He goes, "Looks like 2 bags of heroin and a syringe." And he goes, "And you gonna charge him on this?" And he goes, "You're damn right. I'm going to charge him on it." The guy's like, "We're charging him with over 30 banks." He's like, "Which one do you think they might throw out? Think they might drop those charges?" He's like, "Man, you're wasting your time writing that up." And the guy goes, "Yeah, well, some BS answer about he's a cop to be a cop, and all things." And anyway, the guy from the FBI grabbed the syringe in both bags and threw him in the storm drain. I thought it was one of the all-time funny moments to be there on, because they were real pissed at each other, and I just got to sort of watch it. And then, no joke, as they decided that they needed to take the handcuffs that I had on off, because the first person to put cuffs on me was not an FBI agent. So the local cop wanted his handcuffs back before I take off with his handcuffs. So they have to switch the cuffs out, which they do by grabbing my head and slamming it on the hood of the car. I mean, so long after, just no reason whatsoever. It was, I'm not resisting, nothing. Boom, my face right off there, split my lip, right? All that. I was pissed. I really was. But then the whole time I've been there, Jack says, "I'm going to prison. I'm going to prison." I said, "Dude, I'm going to prison. You're not going to, what the hell are you talking about?" And he goes, "You know how much dope I got in this car?" And I go, "If you had dope in this car, we wouldn't be driving to the dope man." And he goes, "No, I mean, empty bags, syringes, the packaging, the heroin came in." He's like, this car is filthy. He's like, the amount of shit they're going to pull out of this. He's like, "No, man, I'm catching felonies." And I go, "We got this. Don't trip." This was before I got out of the car. So I said to the guy, he goes, "You willing to talk to us about this?" And I said, "If you let my boy go home, and I mean, he needs to drive this truck the hell out of here, drive to his house, park it in his garage, and call me on the phone, I'll go back to the police station with you, and I will answer all of your questions." He said, "For real?" I said, "For real." And Jack took off. Right. Well, I took off first. When I took off, the truck was still parked there. I don't know. That's the last thing I saw. But as we're just getting into not the FBI building, because the FBI building is in a different part of town, I was in just a police station. But as we're going in the front door, the phone rang, and the cop puts the thing up. He goes, "This is your boy." And I go, "Hey, where are you?" He goes, "At the house." And I go, "No issues?" He goes, "None." I said, "You weren't followed?" He goes, "Oh, I was followed." He's like, "No, they followed me right to the house." He's like, "But they let me go inside. Nobody said anything." I said, "Are they parked out front?" He goes, "Nope." And I went, "All right." So I hung up the phone, and the cop goes, "Can I get you anything?" I said, "Yeah, get me a Coca-Cola, some ice, and a pack of Marlboro Reds. 2 Coca-Colas, a cup full of ice, and a pack of Marlboro Reds." And they looked at me like, I mean, you asked me if you could get me anything, right? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk to you about all these crimes that I committed. If you ask me, "Can I get you anything?" I'm trying to chill out a little bit. A cigarette might help, right? And maybe some Coca-Cola, since it's going to be a real long time before I ever drink another one. Maybe a little sugar water. So to make a really long story short, as they started to ask the questions, the first question was, "All right, first bank I want to talk about is a bank in California." He goes, "It's what do they call those really small banks? Credit union." He goes, "It's a credit union." And he tells me the name of it. It's called Mechanics Bank or something, credit union. And I said, "No, I've never robbed a bank in California." I'm like, "That's not me. You got the wrong guy on that. I've never done a bank in California." And he goes, "All right." And he goes to the next state. I don't remember which one it is. And he goes, I said, "No, never done a bank in that state either." But I think the second one might have been Arizona. And I had done a grip of banks in Arizona. But I said, "No, about the fourth time I said, 'No, I've never robbed a bank there.' He goes, 'You said you were going to talk to me.' I said, 'We're talking.' He said, 'Get his ass out of here. Take him to jail." And snatched the cigarette right out of my mouth, literally. Like, snatched it right out of my grill. Not very happy with me, I don't think. But that was the end of that. And over the next, I don't know how long the negotiations start or whatever, but I sat in a room with people from the FBI and I said, "You think that's me?" Like I'm pointing to the picture of this kid because they've got the shot of him standing at the teller right in front of me. Uh, and I go, "You think that's me?" And I said, "I got to be a half a foot taller than this dude, right? And I got to outweigh him by 80 pounds. I don't look anything like this dude." And he goes, "Yeah, no, I think you might be right." Not even farting around, right? He's like, "Yeah, no, I think you might be right. In fact, I think his name is," and he spit out the dude's name. He's like, "I don't think that's you at all." And I said, "Then what are we doing here?" He goes, "I think you've robbed a bunch of banks, but this one here you didn't rob." He said, "But if I'm given enough time, I can probably prove a bunch of them." And we cut a deal. I pled guilty to that bank, and they couldn't go back and do anything going back 11 years. Was I relieved when I got caught? No, not at all. Not at all. I know that people say that. You hear people say that all the time. Uh, that, oh, the sense of relief. Those are people who killed people usually. Those are people that have something really like gnawing at them, something that's really heavy. And I'll be honest with you, at that point, I wasn't feeling a whole lot of guilt. I really wasn't. I didn't. That was going to be years away. I had to process, and at that point, I didn't think I had done anything wrong. I know that sounds really stupid, but I used to say that there were no victims in what I did. This was a victimless crime. I realize how dumb that sounds, but at the time, right, that's the kind of crap you sell yourself so that you can go to sleep. But there was no relief at all when I got arrested. The first thought was, I got to kick again. I'm gonna have to kick dope again on a concrete floor with nothing. No help, no nothing. Um, it sucked. Yeah, it's funny. AJ speaks says the calmest in the cell is guilty. It's this is no joke, right? They call it the perp nap. And when you first get arrested, you get pulled in, and almost everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are, right? What part of the country, county jails are county jails. So there's going to be the area where they process everybody, and that's where you're going to talk to medical, and that's where you're going to talk about maybe getting bail or bond. And you're just processing all the stuff to make sure you're who you are. We get your fingerprints. We do all that. We make sure you're not in any danger of overdose or whatever. Then we get you to a housing unit where now you're actually in jail. But as you sit in that area where everyone is just waiting, you can look around the room and see all the people who are stone cold guilty because usually they're asleep. No joke. I know it sounds crazy, but someone who's in there who didn't do it is going, "What are you talking about? Right? This isn't me. How can you possibly?" No, that dude knows why he's there. Right? They'll absolutely take a nap. Banks are FDIC insured usually. It's a bunch of rich people taking regular people's money to get richer. That's how banks work. Probably the main victims were the tellers. Correct. The main victims, in my opinion, were definitely tellers. The guilt that I feel, and I never threatened one of them. I didn't. But the guilt that I feel is toward the tellers, and then my friends, the people that believed in me. That's pretty shitty too. When you're that when you're showing up with money that they think you made some other way, like nothing that I was doing you could call honorable in any way, right? It was pretty ugly, but yeah. So that's how all of that went down. See, Tamber June says my sister was robbed at gunpoint at her pharmacy, and I hear stuff like that, and there's always a victim. There's always a victim. Your sister's going to feel different for the rest of her life. She's going to look at people who come in. It's one of those things. I know I did that to people. I did. Um, and someone tonight will send me an email telling me what a piece of crap I am for that. Not much I can do about it, people. Right? I knocked that out. I did what I did, and I've changed. Whether you believe that or not, I'll leave that one with you. Some people seem to think I have. 4 or 5 of you aren't so sure. Jay Rambo says, I was robbed at gunpoint when I worked at a bank when I was 19. Ironically, I was robbed at gunpoint less than a year ago. True story. True story. Thank you, Tamber June. That is a very kind thing to say. People, we've gone about 2 hours. You know that? Oh, you were robbed at gunpoint while working at a bank. My goodness. Real good chance he got convicted. By the way, credit unions, I really didn't rob that credit union. And the reason that I never robbed credit unions is because very often, if you rob a credit union, the FDIC may not insure it. You hear me? Sometimes FDIC does not insure, they don't have a deal with the smaller, uh, those types of banks. And if it's one of those, and it does not have a, if it doesn't have an FDIC thing, then when you get convicted, it's not a federal offense, it's a state offense. And that's a dangerous thing to do because you can get way more time in the state. The feds have a very structured system and bank robbery carries a very specific thing, but you can really screw up and find yourself in a bad place. Susan Ward says, I lived in Sunny Valley, Nevada, Sun Valley, Nevada. I think you mean Sun Valley, sometimes called Spun Valley. No disrespect to that town, but Spun Valley has got a huge crystal methamphetamine problem. It also has per capita more convicted felons than any other town in America. How about that? True story. And they also say it is the largest trailer park in America. I saw a big special on it once when I was doing a deep dive, and I used to drive into there all the time. In fact, there's a bar, I think it might even be called something J's, RJ's, AJ, something like that. Right as you start, it's on the right-hand side, right as you start going into Sun Valley, it's the first bar you come to, and I used to stop there all the time because that's where I would pick up because they were a little safer out of town than it was in town. Believe it or not, I'm going to say Spun Valley. Apache Junction's ugly, though. You're not lying. Apache Junction is flooded, but Spun Valley is incredible. It really is. In fact, one of my favorite jokes ever was, you know how you can tell that the toothbrush was invented in Sun Valley? Because if it was invented any other place, they would have called it the teeth brush. But that's a good one. Come on, that's a good one. Truthfully, I love everybody there. It's I feel for anybody that's still in the life. If you are still in the life, yes, this is about that community service I blew off in Sparks. That was pretty funny. And then a little bit later on, when they were taking me in, or they were taking me out of the county jail, it was just the little FBI woman. She's like 5'3" or something, blonde FBI woman, and she's got me by the arm. There's no other dude, and the guy that she's normally with is coming from the other direction. And it started out as the most beautiful day, and then started to snow, just like that. Everything kind of like my day and my life. Everything kind of just went real cold, real quick, and it started to snow. And I'm out there, and she can't get the code to get me through the gate. Right, everyone's got a coat on except me. I got a T-shirt, and I'm out there in the snow. The other agent walks up and he goes, "Hey, how are you, sir?" I said, "I can't complain. How are you?" And I think it hit us at the same time that was probably a really funny response. And I wasn't trying to be funny. It's just one of those things that you say on autopilot. Not bad, not the guy can't complain. And me and this cop actually shared a really good laugh. Truthfully, wow. I don't think he was caught. I was never called in to view a lineup, but I gave him the die pack, and he dropped most of the money outside the bank. Well, that's just unfortunate right there, isn't it? The rookie, freaking rookie. If you can't, it's like I always say, if you can't get rid of the die pack, or if you can't identify the die pack, then you shouldn't rob banks. There you go. That's we'll leave it on that one. If you absolutely, if you say don't give me, right? And I'm not telling you how to rob a bank, but you hear people say, I don't want any banded money. I don't want you to give me any of the devices. You're not going to get any money, right? Banded money is where all the cash is. If you think there's $300,000 sitting in that woman's drawer, then you've never robbed a bank, right? If you get really lucky, you get the top drawer and the bottom drawer, you might get, on a good one, you might get 18 grand. It's not like it is in the movies. I mean, I guess if you're going for the vault, never met anybody that went for a vault and got away with it. I've never met anybody that was successful at that. Hey, Jay Speaks, what a kind thing to say. All right, folks, I'm going to be back here tomorrow night. Do me a favor. Hit subscribe if you're not. If you are, check and then hit subscribe again. Right? We're going to finish out the rest of this month strong. I'm going to take this mental health thing. I think is a lot more serious than people give it credit for. And you know what? As I've said this many times, the lifeboat. You know what? I'll do this on the next one. I'll be here 25 minutes if I do this. Here's what it comes down to, people. We should have given mental health awareness more than a month. No question. Should have been way more than a month. This is not the kind of thing that, right? It's affecting so many people right now. It really is. So I say that next month I'm going to do a show every day next month. I'm not sure when. I got to get with the captain. It's up to him, but I'm going to be doing a full-time slot on the boat every day because I dig it. And I like coming to talk to you guys. So I will see all of you on the next one. Thank you so much. I'm Captain or Admiral. Sorry, I'm Admiral Tommy. We'll see you guys tomorrow, I hope. Lumen through June sounds good to me. Bye-bye.